So one of the things that often comes up in society, one of the things we talk about a lot, and there's a lot on social media, a lot of conversation around the idea of the narcissistic personality. And what that brings up for me is this love we have of giving people labels. We love to find something and then name it. And then it can become sort of viral, you know. So is it true that, you know, every single person that disagrees with us is a narcissist? How do we fairly identify what's happening in that relationship? You know, and that could be our personal relationships, that could be at home, that could be at work, it could be with extended family. How do we step back and observe what is going on in that relationship and what we're all contributing to and what we're co-creating? And then at what point I or the other person are crossing lines or treading over boundaries where actually we're either not sensitive, not aware, or sometimes deliberately setting out to create an adversarial atmosphere. So when we call someone a narcissist, you know, when we use this title, one of the things that comes up for me is for a person to display those traits, and we'll go into what that looks like. Often that person has no idea that that's what they're doing. And that, in my opinion, is what makes the situation untenable and possibly even dangerous. Because what I found in the work that I do is if people do things deliberately, if they, you know, decidedly set out to say something spiteful or to take an action that is going to be harmful to me or you or whatever, then it's kind of really easy to sit somebody down and say, hey, you know, you've done this and you've done that, and this is the effect it's had on me. The issue for me is when the person has no idea. They're so in survival mode. They're so trying to protect themselves that they can't see anybody else. And in fact, I become an extension of them. And, you know, to a degree, we all have narcissistic tendencies. You know, we all need to survive. We all need to make sure that we can stay in the game of life. And when we feel that we can't, or when we feel that the world is against us, or when we feel that we just don't have no models for what love and compassion look like, and I will come on to that in a moment about the things that have happened to us, then we're likely to be completely insensitive to how others are responding and reacting to the way we are in the world. So calling out a narcissist is not as easy as it sounds. Sure, there are lots of things that I can do in the moment at the incident level. There are many things that I can say to hold my own boundaries and hold my own counsel and to define my own confidence within the relationship, within the setting that I'm in. But very often to try and point out, to try and have a conversation that says, hey, you know, this actually hurts, harms me, is falling on deaf ears. And that's the problem. So how does someone become in that state of narcissism, as we are using that word as shorthand? And in my experience, usually this person in their early years has suffered some kind of trauma or just not received the love and compassion and the parenting that they needed to develop. And so over time, what's happened is a person has learnt to maladapt. So in order to survive, if I don't receive any love, then I try to overperform to try and get attention, or I behave in ways that are disruptive and destructive in order to get some form of attention, because maybe negative attention is better than no attention at all. And so it's a very gradual process to this maladaption turning into behaviours that actually walk all over other people's boundaries.